Hey, what's up? This is Torcha from A Broken Silence, and you're listening to Rhino Radio.
So today, through the internet, I am united with Torcha, John of A Broken Silence, all the way from Sydney, Australia. How are you doing today?
Very well, Orm. Thank you for having me on your show, my man.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for taking the time and chatting to me. We're still celebrating the release of your fourth album. Soul was released at the end of last year. Do you still feel the energy of it, especially being stuck at home?
Yeah, look, we just did an acoustic version of Soul like a couple of weeks ago, so we're doing what we can in the current climate to maintain. I'm sick of hearing current climate, but it's just the buzzword of the moment. But yeah, we're doing what we can, as in we're still writing and we're still doing all that stuff. So it's nothing's changed for us really in that sense. It's just if we wanted to go on the road, it's definitely not going to be possible for a while.
Yeah. So if our listeners have listened to your music, then they already know that you're very focused about changing the world, making it better, sharing your feelings, sharing your anger, maybe even. And in our day and age, I feel like the media is the main thing that kind of connects us to either each other in the same country or even the world. Do you have any specific feelings that you want to share about the media, whether you think it's helping a positive change, if it should, if it is, or are you just angry about everything? Where are you on that scale?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'm not angry at all. I'm probably one of the happiest people you ever meet. And even going through all of this stuff that's happening at the moment, like I'm kind of insulated because I work in emergency works. And so I've still got work going in a sense, so we're still doing okay, and we're still going to the beach and swimming through winter and all that, so it's yeah, very, very insulated and very lucky at the moment but at the same time, how I process this whole thing, I'm making the most of it, and we're making the best of the time with our family and our kids and all of that business. So it's been, I'm not saying it's been fantastic, because obviously a lot of people are suffering, but yeah, my mental state and throughout this at the moment. So what was the first question again? I think I didn't address that.
So about the
Was the
media, because a lot of us
Yes.
are stuck at home, and obviously there are news coming from all over the world, whether it's about different regions of the country or different countries and how governments are reacting to things. How do you feel that the media is reacting, whether it's helping us stay together, whether it's polarizing or just doing its thing?
Polarizing is the good word there. I think everyone is, I mean, due to the rise of the internet, I think people's bubbles are getting bigger. So you get people from what you call, which is the left, and you get people from the right, and all different associations living within their bubbles, and making it a lot harder for people to sit down at the table and have reasonable discussions about a lot of things. Now you're seeing great divides in the environment, great divides in, you've got at the moment, you've got the Black Lives Matter, and you've got people saying all lives matter, and they can't sit down and talk to each other. There's a whole bunch of stuff at play, I mean, in the current, at the moment. And I'm seeing the internet is obviously going to help a lot of people if you do your research and your homework, but it's also going to put you in a bad place and obviously polarize you if you're within your Google bubble, where it's predicting what you're going to read and see every day, and you stay within those confines.
So as an artist, but also as a fan of art, do you feel like music has responsibility, or art in general, do they have a responsibility, a task to fill, or is it more about escapism or just doing your thing and then you can take whatever you want from it?
First question, essentially music is always going to have, like, not for everybody, but it's always going to be impactful on people's lives, because people listen to it over and over and again. It's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's a sound in your head. So obviously it's going to make an impact on someone's day or their life or their future. And because you're not just going and reading this book and passing it away, you're listening to that song repeatedly. So obviously a lot of people like to say, yeah, it's just like a movie, we're writing negative stuff and it doesn't really matter, we're making money. But when you throw that stuff out there, I believe it does create something comes back from all of that. So yeah, it does impact a lot. Yeah, look, the music I try and make, I feel like I sort of have to just be real with my emotions and put them out there. And I think that's what ABS is all about, just making songs about not yeah, how do you say, from a particular political point of view, just from a personal point of view. So
Was there ever a discussion among the members saying, okay, we want to tackle this, we want to open people's minds to that specific event or that idea, or try and start a change?
But I don't think we sat down with that. I think we just write music amongst the band. Like lately, we've probably talked a lot more about, what particularly we're going to write about. But generally, when we were doing music, I mean, the music came and I would write to the music, and whatever was on my mind at the time would get laid down. So, and that's basically how we operated, like now maybe things maybe, I don't know. I'm just not really into being calculated. I'm into writing to what the song sounds like, and if that's something that's going to be, particular to what's happening in the current situation, then it is what it is. There, I suppose.
And I think the last couple of months kind of put capitalism and socialism head to head with each other around the world, showing which government cares about more. Um,
Mhm.
and again, jumping into soul, it felt like some of the lyrics say that we're just so insignificant, a grain of sand. Do you feel like
Mhm.
that relates even more today when some governments say we need to ignite the government and some ignite the economy, and some governments say we need to take care of the people first?
Yeah, like that song is can go two ways. I mean, what you're saying there could also work with being an insignificant human, but in my way of thinking, it's in a more positive sense. If you look at us within the span of the universe, and with all our problems that we have created in our mind, as you know, human is the only animal that can actually make themselves upset, really. You know what I mean? Through their mind. And when you look at the span of the universe, how big and how many planets and what's out there, it's like, what are we? We're just this tiny little thing here that's making ourselves either happy or sad. That was sort of soul in my eyes. Obviously Daniel, who wrote the hook, he would have another picture. He might come from a more religious aspect, and he might be thinking along those lines. And what you just described there is also a possible thing that was on my mind, because if you can hear the lyrics, they are mentioning something of that nature too.
So I had the next question in mind and I expected something completely different, but now I want to hear where you're going to take it. So obviously the last couple of months or even our lifetime always keeps us conflicted with different feelings, and anger and disappointment might be a major one over the last couple of months, feeling that again we're all alone or that we cannot do things that we are used to. How do you deal with either that fracture of anger or even full on anger or disappointment? How do you keep so positive as we see already?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, see, my issue is I'm always positive about, like, probably to my detriment sometimes. But in saying that, like, I've been slightly insulated. I'm seeing a lot of problems with a lot of people around me, and I can see where they're coming from, how this thing could be effective in. But yeah, like within my life, I have that imagination in my mind that I can go and live in the bush and go fishing, and I'm not worried about losing any material things at all on this earth. And that's deep down, that's how I feel. Like if you put me out in the bush, I wouldn't shed a tear. I'd just be thinking, okay, how am I going to get some food? And let's get some food. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, that's honestly how I feel. So it's hard to, I can relate to other people going through these issues, and a lot of people may have smaller issues, and they can be really, really blown up. Obviously, because you're engrossed in the media and everything now. That's it's quite a negative time to be around. But I don't think I'm always looking at the bright side. I think we're sort of lucky. We're not people aren't fighting for food or anything like that yet. Like there was in 1932 in the Great Depression, or in World War II and one. Obviously, Eastern Europe has seen a lot of hardships over the last years as well. So I think what's happening now, especially in the Western countries, it hasn't really tipped to that stage yet. But it's mentally, it could be, yeah, it could be very bad for a lot of people.
I want to touch on the last track on the album, Youngblood, about the future and touching a bit on the education or the influence around young people. As a young parent, did you have any fears about bringing kids into today's world?
Absolutely not. Me personally, if Daniel was here with you, he would tell you the opposite. So this is why I'm speaking on behalf of the band, because we've both got, you know, my idea is what the kid learns at home. Like I've got three children and he's got three children. I'm not afraid to put them out into the world. I know that the world has got some crazy things happening, and a lot of things are changing. But I mean, that's life. Life changes, it evolves, and hopefully, it eventually, kicks back up and comes to a good place. And at the moment, like prior to this COVID business, I think the world was in particularly, a good place compared to, like I said, like if it was 50 to 60 years ago and something like this happened, there would have been a lot of people starving, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I've got to get back to your question. I'm always steering off course there. So what was the original question? And I'll try and finish that off.
If you had any fears, I mean, it is a weird world out there, whether it's different opinions, people are voicing their hatred, or just I think that the track itself mentioned that the media is kind of blocking minds, or even the educational system blocking minds, just teaching you how to be a mimic of somebody 10 years ago. So, as a young parent or a parent to be, are you ever scared of my kid is coming to a dark world, or that they're not going to be able to excel and maximize their potential because there's so many powers around them?
Yeah, look, I'm really all about educating my kids in every and telling them to look at all sides. You know what I mean? Obviously, you got to pick a side, but it's not, you don't have to pick a side until you've got some kind of experience or some kind of education behind it. But I'm always all about learning about all the different ways things are done, and yeah, I have no fear. Like I'm not fearful. I don't have fear for my kids. I think we can go forth into the world, and I'm educating them young on things that my parents would have never even talked about. If you know what I'm saying. So yeah, but yeah, if you're going to talk to Daniel, he's going to give you the direct opposite of that. I'd
So
say he's worried about what's out there. Obviously, there's a lot of things getting out there that kids are learning when they're younger that may be detrimental to the children as well, and how they're going to cope with all of that stuff. So
I love that attitude of just not being scared, not finding the negative, just focusing on the positive, just pulling yourself up and making the change, being the change yourself. But as we said, there's so many forces around you, or as you said, already things that you've changed already. Is there something specific that you think either parents or people with kids or even young people should focus on and open kids' minds already, something that we can do right now?
yeah, I think the most important thing is for kids to learn that how essential it is to learn things like correct diet, eating properly. You know what I mean? Eating the right stuff. Also, meditation or something like that, clearing of the mind and breathing and things like that. And also, the importance of always learning and and enjoying challenges. You know, whatever they may be in life. Like that's to me, if you can do those things, and life can be an amazing thing. You know, whereas I think there's a lot of mental illness around at the moment. I'm hearing about it so much everywhere. I'm not sure if that's my bubble that I've been researching, but in every aspect of my life, there's so many different mental illnesses around me. Especially this has probably made it even greater, the current situation. But it seems like an ever increasing problem, and it may possibly be due to the way we're living now. That's usually a symptom of how we're living. There's something a little bit wrong, you know. Like obviously, if you went back 50 years ago, people weren't working as many hours. It was a slower life. There was no mobile phones. There was no. I think keeping up with life now takes a fair amount of focus, and which kids need to learn young. Otherwise, they're going to get in serious troubles as they get into their teens.
Again, thank you very much for sharing that. I love your attitude. I love the positive focus. So I'll try and implement it in my life already. So thank you very much for sharing that.
No,
Before we say goodbye, I want to confront you with a rumor that I found online. Your fans are either scared or excited that the band is going to ditch the musical side and you're going to start a kids show. And they even focus on the fact that there might be a giant cactus puppet. Is that true?
well, I don't know how the cat got out the bag, but yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, we've started the first episode. I'll just bring the cactus out if you want to see him. No, yeah, I don't know which country that came out of, but yeah, it's that's funny, man. That's some funny shit. I wasn't gonna swear, but that's some funny shit.
So you're not going to go and lean into the kind of the younger audience next.
Man, look, we've never really like we experiment with music, but I don't think we're even looking at an audience. You know, like we just do what we do. Like basically, if you listen to all the Broken Silence albums, lyrically, I am who I am. Daniel is who he is. I mean, in sound wise, we do experiment, but yeah, we're not really going. Let's go and get the new 10-year-old or 15-year-old market. We make the music. If people are happy to hear it, we're happy.
So there's not going to be a lullaby EP or anything like that.
Are you pushing for this or what?
Yeah, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, you're gonna buy it. All right, cool. Maybe we will do that next. But yeah, no, no, we're good for now. We just started organizing. You know, we're gonna work. We've got this acoustic album. that we've just completed. So that should start coming out in the next month or so, or a few weeks. So we just redone pretty much all of Soul and a few of the old tracks from the last 3 albums. So we've got that in the meantime while we work on the new stuff and the
Okay,
Lullaby album.
sounds great. I'll be waiting. I'll share with our audience. I just want to ask you one last thing. As a musician, as a fan, as somebody who's been touring the world on both sides of the stage, what do you think is one thing that us, again, either as musicians or as fans, should do, either do more or do less to make it more welcoming to more people? Something that you've experienced either as a musician or as a fan that needs changing right now.
Are you referring to the music industry or?
Yeah, and the music in general, either it's because you think that people are not going to shows or because you think that musicians don't feel welcome, whether it's gender, race, age, anything that you think, or even just different genres or anything that will make more people join the scene on either the performing side or on the viewing side.
Yeah, okay. Look, to be honest, now that the way we can't do any shows or anyone can do any shows, I think this is probably in most countries, that's going to be very detrimental. But at the same time, I think now kids these days, like I got this little studio that I set up for like $800 or something that cost me when I was like in my younger days. Trying to get into the studio was the hardest thing in the world. Whereas now you can actually do all your recording within your small studio for a small amount of money. You can actually get to a really great level. So I think that accessibility is for kids. I think these days is awesome. You know, but the flip side of the coin, maybe, yeah, the music industry is it's not a great place. You know what I mean? It's not a place where you're gonna I don't think you can just go, look, I'm going to go make some money and that's my life in the music industry. You got to either love it and have fun and do what you do and you get somewhere, you put in the hard work, or it is what it is, man. You got to keep your day job. It's but in music, essentially, to me, it's an art form and it's a lot of fun. And hopefully, people get fun out of what we do. You know, they enjoy what we do. So.
Okay, John, Torcha, A Broken Silence. We've already mentioned that Soul is out now. We have 3 more albums out there, and you've already mentioned some sort of an EP or an album of acoustic stuff that's going to be out soon. We cannot talk about touring, so unfortunately, I cannot invite you for biscuits and tea in the UK. Is there anything else you want to add about the future, about anything you want to share with fans and listeners out there before we say goodbye?
No, I just yeah, thanks to all our fans around the world, and thank you for having me on the show. Obviously, it's been a great conversation because usually we talk a whole bunch of different music things, and we went a little bit left field, which is awesome. And yeah, I appreciate you getting me on. Thank you.
Okay, Torcha, A Broken Silence. Thank you very much for your time. It's been great talking to you.
Okay, all right. Peace, man.